All right, this is part one of a practice tutorial. How to practice, how to go about, getting better at your instrument or anything really. This first thing we're going to do is examine how your brain works when you're practicing, when you're being productive in your practice. So here is a exact replica of your brain. It's a brilliant drawing, right? So in your brain, you have neurons, which are these little dots here, right? There's more possible connections between neurons in your brain than there are stars in the universe. It's kind of insane to think about. Any action that you've ever done, whether it's turning a doorknob, speaking a word, picking something up, catching a ball, playing a scale on your instrument, all of that is making connections between the neurons in your brain. So what you need to get better at something in your practice is to do focused repetition. So every time you do an action, it makes a slight connection. And every time you repeat that action, that connection gets stronger and stronger. So it's like you're establishing a connection in a network. So let's say an internet connection. There is a chemical that surrounds the neuron. And as you keep doing the repetition, it increases the bandwidth of the connection between all the neurons. This chemical is called myelin. Okay? So every time you do the repetition, you're adding a little bit of myelin around the neurons. And the more myelin you have in that connection, the faster it gets. And you'll notice that certain actions that you do in life, you don't even really think about anymore because you've done it so many times that the connection is actually faster than your thought process. If you try and catch a ball, for example, especially if you're athletic, you don't think about every action that goes into catching the ball. You don't think, I'm going to lift the arm, I'm going to turn my hand in this direction, I'm going to move the fingers in this way. You just do it, right? It's almost instinctual because the connection is so strong. So when you're doing your practice, you need to put enough repetition into whatever you're doing, whether it's an actual physical task, performing a specific technique, or conceptualizing something, maybe a music theory concept. The more you do it, the faster it becomes, and then it becomes instinctual. The best players on earth, anything you see them do, they've done it so many times that it becomes automatic to them, like breathing. And so when you practice, think about this process of myelinization in your neural connections. So your practice, if you do 2 hours in one day, and then you take 6 days off, you're going to lose that connection. It's not going to be reinforced. 5 minutes a day, focusing on one task, is more effective than 2 hours a day, once a week. It just is. They've studied it because you get that reinforcement of the connection. So, in conclusion, take your practice and try and get it to little realistic chunks in your day that you can consistently do. So if you're somebody who's super active and has a lot on their schedule, be realistic about it. don't defeat yourself if you can't get in an hour a day, 2 hours a day, like you hear people do 4 hours a day, whatever it is. Be realistic. If all you can do is 5 or 10 minutes a day, do that and be consistent every day and revisit the same things that you're working on. In doing so, you will strengthen those connections and you will get better at whatever you're trying to do. So I hope that helps you as you're developing your practice and your goals for your practice. We're going to talk a little bit more about this on part 2 of the video. So I'll see you then.